I don't think you realize how emotionally invested some of your fans are. I was 4 years old when I played the first Final Fantasy on the NES Famicom, and now you have committed public Sudoku in my mind because you've just disgraced yourself and all of your families and everyone who has ever worked for Square and the great legacy there. You've basically been huge sellouts to a Microsoft American company, and I think the Japanese publicists would be very interested to know that you're selling out to America and not making any good games anymore. Maybe you're a little scared of American ingenuity, but you should still just shut up and make good games instead of games for a system. And I don't think you shouldn't have the desire and the passion of the fans, because we're what made you and we can break you.
You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you?
I do a lot of content about PlayStation fanboys, and the word I always use is entitlement. Yes, these guys are so entitled. They feel that PlayStation should never put a game on Xbox, even if it's not owned by PlayStation. We know that Square Enix and PlayStation and the Final Fantasy franchise always had a great relationship. Final Fantasy VII on the PS1 was one of the best-selling games that generation. But let's be real, man. You guys saw the clip at the beginning of the video. These guys are entitled. Now, I don't know if that guy is trolling, if he's just joking. I've seen him before, and he said some crazy shit the last time. Is this guy serious? I mean, he's that upset because Square Enix is putting more Final Fantasy games on the Xbox platform. Now, look, these guys have said that Square Enix would be stupid to put their games on Xbox. They're wasting their time. And I always say, even though Xbox consoles hasn't sold as much as the PS5 or the Nintendo Switch, there's still over 30 million consoles, so that's still a potential, 1 to 2 million copies being sold, maybe even more. So yes, these publishers are waking up. They're not doing exclusive deals anymore, and it's about time. With that being said, Final Fantasy VII Remake and also Final Fantasy 16 have been announced for Xbox Series X and S, with Final Fantasy 7 Integrate out later this year, and Final Fantasy 16 was shadow dropped a couple days ago. And as you see my footage, I booted the game up, and so far it's pretty good. Great cutscenes. But anyway, PlayStation fanboys are, man, they're one of a kind, let me tell you. These guys are such assholes that I'm so happy that their narratives are being destroyed. I love that Final Fantasy 7 and 16 and future Final Fantasy games will be on Xbox. I love it. Now, me personally, I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy, but I think, all games should be everywhere. And obviously, these publishers are starting to think the same. But with that being said, guys, J Main said, y'all can't be serious thinking someone is upset Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to Xbox. That game is 5 years old and was always announced as first on PlayStation. Hang it up. Well, J Main, let me tell you, my brother, you're probably not mad because Final Fantasy VII is going to Xbox, but there are some people that's pissed off. Hell, look at the clip at the beginning of this video. Trust me, there's some people that's pissed off. Baraka the rapper said, you can't release Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox. This game only exists because of PlayStation. That is treason and unethical. Please rethink your attitude. Talk to Sony. I'm sure you can reach an agreement. I can even accept 16 going, but 7 is very wrong. There's no justification.
Tell me you didn't just say that.
And is this guy serious? I'm really starting to think these guys are just trolling. No way can these guys be serious. Who in the hell do you think you are, sir? Baraka the rapper? Who do you think you are? This guy said, please rethink your attitude. Talk to Sony. I'm sure you can reach an agreement. You should be ashamed of yourself to sit up here and type some stupid shit like that and then have the audacity to press send. What is wrong with these people, man? Xbox is a gaming platform. Even though they're third place, there's still potential game sales on the Xbox consoles. Whether people want to believe that or not, they are potential game sales on the Xbox consoles. That's why you're seeing more and more publishers putting their games everywhere. Remember when Sega used to put a lot of their games exclusively on PlayStation? They stopped that shit. Capcom used to do exclusive deals back in the day. They stopped that shit. Now Square Enix, a brand that's known, to be with PlayStation, Final Fantasy games, Forspoken. But you guys know what I'm saying. They're like, we have to go full multi-platform. The games industry is too crazy right now. We need as much money as we can get. So in other words, they're saying, your PlayStation, you're not enough. This guy Lee says, hopefully Rebirth and Part 3 still stays Sony exclusive.
You ain't nothing. You don't deserve nothing. You don't get nothing.
Now, you know what's so funny? Those last two tweets that I read, those were some tweets from some PlayStation fanboys immediately after the showcase where Xbox Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 16 was revealed to be going to Xbox. But I also have some old receipts from PlayStation fanboys that said Final Fantasy would never come to Xbox. But before I get to that, let me get to Jack Move Johnny. He said this a couple days ago also. He said Final Fantasy 7, old news, but the same ones downplaying it is hyping up Forza Horizon 5 and Gears on PlayStation. Ironic. Yo, Jack Move has been cooking lately. I read the initial tweet from J Main and he said, yeah, nobody's really crying about Final Fantasy 7 Remake going to Xbox. It's a 5-year-old game and blah, blah, blah. Jack Move is right. These guys are celebrating old games going to PlayStation. Yes, they are old Xbox games, but they're celebrating. Remember, PlayStation guys was touting this as their exclusive. Even though it was a third-party exclusive or second-party exclusive, whatever you want to call it, this game was on their list. Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7. This game was on their list. They were touting it as a PlayStation exclusive. I mean, because technically it was. But these guys were acting like the shit was first party. But like I said, I got some old receipts to share.
Come on!
Icon Era said Final Fantasy 16 and other Square Enix titles may never make it to Xbox, as Sony exclusivity is going to get much worse, according to Insider. Now that's funny, but like I always say, things change. We know these guys love to pull old receipts from Phil Spencer when he talked about exclusivity. And yeah, the only reason I'm pulling these old receipts and talking shit is because they did the exact same thing with Xbox and Phil Spencer. And most of the things I do is because PlayStation fanboys done these things for years. So yeah, I'm giving you a taste of your own medicine, you pieces of shit. Unleashed responded to what Icon Era said. He said, that's beautiful to know. Keep it up, Sony. Deprive Xbox of games.
Shut up, bitch.
Damn, man, you don't want the gaming industry to be healthy, do you? You just want PlayStation on top. That's your main goal. That's why I loathe all of you. The Gamer says Square Enix claims only the PS5 can handle Final Fantasy 16 combat.
It's not funny. It's really not funny.
Yo, stop it. That sound like in 2020 when PlayStation fanboy was going out there saying, yo, the special superpower SSD can only run certain games on the PlayStation 5. That's not possible on the Xbox Series X. Yes, they were out there saying that foolishness, man. Stop. This dude says Sony has signed a contract with Square Enix to limit the Final Fantasy VII trilogy as a main exclusive on PlayStation without seeing the light of day on other platforms.
You are wrong. All of you are wrong.
Another guy wrong. I mean, listen, the thing is, these PlayStation fanboys, they're not acting like this is news. They're bragging. They're talking shit. When they post these tweets, when there were rumors that PlayStation was going to stay and Square Enix had an exclusive contract, they were talking trash. This was not these guys reporting news. And look, maybe this really was the case back in the day. But like I said, things clearly have changed. PlayStation wasn't enough. Not enough ponies bought these games. And Square Enix said, I can't deal with it anymore. We're going full multiplat. Darius says, Final Fantasy 16 is not coming to Xbox, dude. It would have come at the same time as PC. The Series S definitely not running it either.
Hey! Ain't nobody trying to hear that bullshit, man.
Why the shots at the Series S? What the hell did the Series S do to you, bro? But you were wrong. Not only did the game come to Xbox consoles, it's actually also on the Xbox Series S. Not sure how the game runs yet, but it's definitely on the Xbox Series S. Look at yourselves. Now this guy, Bush Zeno, he actually came after me. I believe this was after Tokyo Game Show last year. He said, you're looking forward to Final Fantasy 16 on Xbox? Then he played the GIF of 50 Cent driving by laughing. I said, okay, you piece of trash. And here we are. Look at you. Another L. These guys are so arrogant because they were getting these games and Xbox was not getting these games. And I think it's funny that with Final Fantasy 16 now on Xbox, at the moment, Xbox is actually the only console you can play the entire mainline Final Fantasy series, 1 through 16, apart from 11 online. That is kind of crazy. That is crazy to think about, man. That's very crazy to think about because starting off in the generation, Square Enix and PlayStation, they were like blood brothers. And something happened, maybe a couple flops. They said, you know what? No, we need to survive. Square Enix said, we need to survive. We need to put our games everywhere. And I'm telling you guys right now, this is just my prediction. This is going to be a common thing. You're going to see more and more publishers not do money-hatted deals unless PlayStation or Xbox funded the game, and those games will probably be timed exclusives. This is just my prediction. Nintendo was still doing their thing. They're not doing the same things as PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation isn't 100% doing the same thing as Xbox, obviously. But as the years go by, we will continue to see more and more publishers want their games everywhere. We thought we would never see PlayStation put their games on PC. At least I thought that. I thought I would never see that. Never thought we would see Xbox go full multi-platform. They have. They spent billions of dollars and they have moved forward with their multi-platform strategy. But like I said, Nintendo is doing their thing. But Final Fantasy coming to Xbox is a great thing. Like I said, I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy, but I was playing 16 and so far it's pretty good. I'm going to continue to play it. But you PlayStation fanboys, I hope you cry. I hope you drown in your own tears, you pieces of shit. Because you guys deserve it. You guys feel the Xbox, because they're not selling as many consoles as PlayStation, that they're trash. But in reality, Xbox has all of the content. Xbox has announced more games for PlayStation than PlayStation has announced for PlayStation in 2 years. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Because PlayStation has no damn games. And once again, Xbox is the only publisher that's putting out showcases. Hell, this year, PlayStation had a State of Play, no Ubisoft showcase, no EA showcase. I mean, there was Summer Game Fest, but I said publishers. And shout out to Xbox, man, for actually giving us some shows to be curious about what's happening in the future. And I love it. But look, I gotta go. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you happen to stumble across my channel and you think I'm decent enough, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? And if you subscribe, please hit that notification bell to know what my black ass is doing, some new content, baby. All right, everybody. Peace and love. Peace and love. Shit. Damn, man.